Well, hello YouTube. Thank you for visiting the channel today. My name is Samax. I will admit from the beginning that there is not a lot of structure to this episode. I realized this morning that it's been a while, and I've made lots of changes to the base since I initially gave the tours, and so we're going to talk about most of those changes today. What you see in front of you is the lava tank. For those of you who might remember that this was a Zycraft tank to begin with. I remember when I gave the tour of the base, or at least sometime around then, I mentioned that as I run past this area right here, I was getting a significant dip in FPS, and that has disappeared since we replaced this with a Railcraft tank. So I believe that it was because of that Zycraft bug that was keeping it, because this tank was always full. Likewise, in the back of the base, the biofuel tank has been replaced with a Railcraft tank, and it's completely full. So we have over 10,000 buckets of biofuel. There used to be a water tank here that was not really working, and so I went ahead and just pulled it. The last remaining Zycraft tank in the world, I believe, is this one right here. And the only reason I haven't replaced it is because I'm just trying to figure out exactly how many aqueous accumulators I'm going to need to keep all of these engines cool. The other thing that needs to be addressed is this turtle used to use the Zycraft valves or light Zycraft liquid detectors to determine when to turn off and turn on the engines. Well, that no longer works, so for now I'm just going to break this line, and then I'll put a lever in place, although I don't have one on me, and we'll have to just manually toggle those on and off. But we're not using very much Buildcraft or biofuel right now, so it should not be a problem. As we go, there's been no significant changes to the AE room. Even though I promised that I was going to be making changes to it at some point. Yesterday, this was one of my main projects. I built it in the morning. As you see, this is a 16 or an all-color sheep farm. This was originally designed to use the deployers and transposers to shear them and pick up the wool. But Aaron introduced me to the Rancher, the main factory reloaded Rancher, and this thing is infinitely better. It covers a bigger area. It does not ever need refueling. It just needs power. It interfaces with Buildcraft pipes. It's really fantastic. But because I had designed this thing to work with deployers and transposers, I built these sheep pens 3x3. And so what I'm running into every once in a while is that the this Rancher will pick up sheep from the pen next to it. This was really challenging for me because, well, not super challenging, it's just more work than it really should have been. If I would have built these pens the right size, it would have been easy to handle, but I didn't do that. So what you have is the Rancher dumps them out into a Buildcraft pipe on the back. It runs up, and at the top of it you can see a diamond pipe that splits them, and it sends the right color to the yellow one, and then if it accidentally picks up the wrong color, it sends it over to the right one here. And I've had to do this with every single one of these colors, and it was kind of a pain to set up, but it shouldn't be problematic from here. So this has been running about 24 hours, and as you can see, we get about 10 stacks of wool total for each of them. The one thing that I did notice, and I need to throw something away to make room for it, is that sometimes when you walk up and you get the wool, you don't actually get the wool. It falls down into this pen, and I need to do some testing to see if the Rancher will pick up that stack of wool and put it back in there. Actually, let me just do that right now. Yeah, so I don't know if it'll pick that up or not. We'll just have to see if the Rancher, I'll wait here a few seconds and see if the Rancher picks that thing up. I'm not sure if it will or not. No, it doesn't look like it will, because it picked up that sheep, but it didn't, or it picked up that sheep's wool, but it didn't do anything with this stack of wool. So let's put these back because I don't need them, and then we'll move on to a few different things. So one of the other main projects this week has been a Thaumcraft room. Got a link book to it, so let's jump over there. As you can see, whoa, well, that's interesting. I believe that this is coming from Aaron. I know that he set up some armor stands in his base in the last few days, and this is actually fairly funny. There is a creeper head on one of his walls, and every time I run through this passageway, I just get a glimpse of that green head on my right, and it freaks me out every single time. And so, kudos, Aaron. Was this a steel leaf armor? Yeah, steel leaf as the plating, and then the creeper head. That's pretty cool. That might just become a permanent fixture of the Thaumcraft room. As you can see, I grew a silver leaf tree right here in the middle to hopefully reduce the impact of my flux, or my experiments on the flux around the world. If you fly out just a little bit, you can see that this is made up of 4 pillars. They narrow at the top and widen at the bottom just slightly. I used liquid ducts full of lava to as kind of a lighting feature in there. There's one kind of cool thing about this. If I get up high enough, the liquid ducts render differently than the blocks render. So the liquid ducts will fall out of scope. See how they're slowly working their way out? And then when you fly up, they work their way back in. The first time I saw that, I was like, that's pretty dang cool, and I actually like it. And so it's going to take me a little while to get used to that green thing sitting there in this base. I may end up having to move it just so I don't freak out every single time that thing drops into my periphery. I've done almost no Thaumcraft research. As a matter of fact, I think the only thing I did was Niter, and I don't know much about it, so I need to watch a little bit of Dire Wolf's video and get some more of the basics down before I proceed with this any longer. Other than that, this is it for here. Let's bounce back over to the base. The other things I wanted to show you are actually at the B base, so we can jump over to the B world. One of the things I need to do is change this. This book links me to right here, and we used to do all of this work right here, and so it was the right place to do it. But we're not doing hardly any of that work over here anymore. This is the old watermelon farm. Unfortunately, when I moved to the other base, or when I moved my base, I moved my chunk loader with it, and so this is no longer in a loaded chunk, and so I haven't been getting the seed oil that I need from here because it's very rarely loaded. So yesterday I spent quite a bit of time looking at what we were going to do. I've been experimenting with the tree breeding, and we got so what we ended up yesterday with was 2 of these walnuts. So this one and this one here are the walnut trees, and then these 2 are the chestnuts. And then we built I built a multi-farm underneath it, and it is in orchard mode by the thing. So the only thing we're doing is pulling the walnuts and the chestnuts off of these as they mature, and then dumping them in the AE system. You can see, well, you won't be able to see, but there is quite a bit of seed oil now. I was much shorter than that just a few days ago, or actually just yesterday. And you can see that if we click on this, we're exporting both the chestnuts and the walnuts into this seed oil squeezer. As I was getting around, or when I logged on this morning, I had around 2,400 chestnuts. I'm down to 1,100 now, so we squeezed about 1,300 of them. These actually give a little bit more than the walnuts do. I think that these are like 2.4 or 2.6. Or I'm sorry, 0.24 or 0.26 buckets, where the walnuts are 0.2 buckets, and so I believe that that's going to be fine. This is going to keep us up to date, and so I just need to get rid of that watermelon farm over there since it's no longer really being useful. You can see the bottom of the multi-farm here. It's it's the same as above. We can go back here and look and see that I have an aqueous accumulator feeding up, and then there's a so if we look here, this one here is the hatch, this is the gearbox, and this is the valve. So we use the aqueous accumulator to push the valve, red conduit into the gearbox to keep it running, and then this hatch has an import bus on this side, and you can see just barely an ME cable running around to the side, and it has an export bus on the other. That's solely to export fertilizer. That's the only thing that needs to be replenished regularly on this. And then the import bus just grabs the walnuts and the chestnuts off of it. These go down and they tie into the regular ME system. The cable wraps around and grabs one side of the BC producer, and then that water just drops there to the aqueous accumulator. A couple of other changes back here. We added these electric crafting tables from GregTech. This might easily be the most badly documented block in the game. I mean, there's only so many things you can do with it, or so many options that can be played with, but when I first hooked it up, I hooked it up to 512, not knowing what energy it took, and so it blew up. And then I dropped it down to 32 per tick using an MV and an ALV transformer to get it down to the right set, and that works fine. And then the only thing I want this to do is to build our tiny piles, and so this interface has to be configured just like this. You've got this is set up in the 2x2 mode, and then this lightning bolt needs to be here. And again, there is no documentation on this, so I don't know what each of these do. Well, I know what this one does, but I don't know what this one does. The other thing is that you need to import, you need to feed items into the green side, and they get pulled out of the red side, which you can't see. So the way I've got this set up is I have an export bus, and it's got 6 different piles of the tiny piles, and then the other 8 are here. And then as the bees get centrifuged, they take the tiny piles and push them over here, and they get turned into regular piles of dust. See, we're doing pretty well on most things. Platinum was the big thing, even though I haven't centrifuged any of it, or I haven't sent it over to the other one to be done. We've got almost 500 emeralds, 500 olivine, and some rubies, so I'm pretty happy with the bee production. I mean, if I wanted more, we could just build more alvearies. Another thing is we moved the recycler over here. This is fed from the AE system just like everything else. It's got a couple of the rocky comb and a few other things that go through here, plus the standard dirt, cobblestone, and gravel and wood. So it's getting fed from all over the place. There is an ender chest over here that's on a storage bus from my other AE system that brings over cobble and wood and dirt from the system over there. And so this is the way I'm recycling now. It's keeping up really well. If it falls behind again, I won't do that again. I've been having to run quarries specifically to pick up cobblestone because the recycler needs so much of it, and the matter fab was just burning through it, and it just seems like a waste. I don't need any of the other resources from the quarries, and so what I've decided is the next time that we run into that, I will not be doing that. I'll set up igneous extruders. I don't know how many. If any of y'all know how many need to be run to keep up with this recycler and matter fab, I would love to know what that is. And so the next time that we run short, that's what I'll do, is I'll set up igneous extruders over here to keep up with it instead of having to constantly run quarries just to keep everything going. Other than that, we're breeding a few more bees, I believe. We've got the ruby bees, as you saw earlier, and the titanium bees. It's still primarily those 3 bees. You know, we got a few rubies, a few titanium, and 4 or 5 platinum. I don't know which other ones that I would like to run. I've looked through them, and there's a few of them that are fairly interesting to me. I was getting ready to run the bees that produce that seedy comb so that I could get seeds out of it to power the seed oil, but there's no reason to now. I've got so much of it coming from the walnuts and chestnuts that it just doesn't make sense. This was another experiment. I was going to use this. I think this is called a packager, but it's inferior to this electric crafting table for the things that I want to do with it. It gets jammed. I mean, that was the big thing, is that if you feed it 3 dusts, it will wait. It'll be jammed on that, waiting on that 4th dust before it can build its regular pile. And the GregTech crafting table just doesn't have that. It's actually really, really nice. GregTech did something good for us. I know that all of you will be surprised by that. Other than that, we've been doing quite a bit of tree breeding. I believe that when I'm done with this, I'll record an episode on tree breeding. Just be forewarned that there will definitely be spoilers in that episode. I'll try to keep them to a minimum, but you know, you're definitely going to get some spoilers. Other than that, I believe that gets you caught up. I'm still kind of searching for a direction for the channel. And need y'all's help to understand if what I'm doing is what you want, or would you like a little more details? Would you like to see me build more often? You know, something a little more complex, or you know, whatever. I know that Aaron and I are planning on building a fusion reactor in the near future, and you will certainly get at least you will get several points of view on that, would be my guess. I'm looking forward to it. We're waiting to upgrade to 1.1 before we do, though, because I would like to do it with liquid tritium, liquid deuterium, and liquid plasma instead of having to craft all of those into cells, and you have to wait on 1.1 to get there. Other than that, I believe that that's a wrap for the day. I hope that you enjoyed the video. Please do not be afraid to leave me comments or questions, and give me a thumbs up if you like it, or a thumbs down if you didn't. I hope y'all have a great day. Until next time, bye.